They told you the system was fair, but in one silent move, 9 justices just admitted the truth. The game was rigged. While the country was glued to political drama and celebrity nonsense, the Supreme Court dropped a ruling so explosive, it rewired how your rights are judged the moment force comes into play. This wasn't a loophole fix. It wasn't paperwork. It was a constitutional gut punch to years of lazy excuses. Courts used to freeze the frame on the final second of a deadly encounter and call it justice. The officer was scared. End of story. Not anymore. In this ruling, fear alone doesn't cut it. The whole story is on trial now. Every word, every decision, every choice on both sides. And if you carry, if you own, or if you ever plan to defend yourself, this ruling could decide whether your rights protect you or disappear the instant panic takes over. But here's the part that makes it unforgettable. The case that changed everything didn't start with a bank robbery or a hostage crisis. It started with something so ordinary, it should have ended with a ticket, not a body bag. It all came down to a stop that should have been routine. Unpaid tolls. That's it. Ashton Barnes sat behind the wheel. Officer Robert Felix gave the order, "Step out of the car." Barnes cracked the door, hesitated, then made a split-second choice. He tried to drive away. Felix reacted, but not in the way you'd expect. He didn't step back. He didn't call it in. He leapt onto the side of the moving car, clinging to the door as it lurched forward. And in less than 5 seconds, 2 shots rang out. Barnes slumped. The car rolled to a stop. A traffic stop had just turned into a death sentence. And here's the twist. The lower courts barely blinked. They froze the tape on those last 2 seconds, pointed to Felix's fear, and called it justice. They ignored how the officer put himself on that door. They ignored whether the whole thing could have been diffused. 5 chaotic seconds became the only story that mattered. Case closed. Until the Supreme Court stepped in. And with one unanimous decision, they didn't just overturn a case. They torched the very rule courts had been hiding behind for years. Think about that for a second. How many times have we seen headlines about a tragic shooting where the explanation boiled down to, the officer was scared? That excuse just got ripped apart. For too long, judges leaned on the moment of threat shortcut. It gave officers a golden ticket. Freeze the frame on the exact second they fired. Say, I was scared, and everything leading up to it disappeared. Didn't matter if the officer created the danger. Didn't matter if choices before escalated the situation. 2 seconds of panic erased a lifetime of rights. But the justices weren't buying it anymore. In a rare 9-0 thunderclap, the Supreme Court ripped that shield apart. No more freeze-frame justice. No more hiding behind panic. From now on, context is the law of the land. What led up to the shot? What warnings were given? What chances to de-escalate were ignored? It all counts. That's not a tweak. That's a total rewrite. For the first time in years, the courts admitted what the rest of us already knew. Fear is easy. Accountability is hard. So why should this matter to you? Because this wasn't just about one officer or one tragic stop. This was about you. Every law-abiding citizen who's ever carried or even thought about it. Picture this. You're pulled over, seatbelt still on, hands at 10 and 2. You calmly say the words every responsible carrier is taught. Officer, I'm legally armed. Under the old rule, none of that mattered. If things went sideways, the court only saw the last 2 seconds. Did the officer say he was scared? Then your rights, your compliance, your restraint, all of it vanished behind that magic excuse. Not anymore. Now judges have to weigh the full story. They have to ask, did you follow the law? Did you stay calm? Did the officer escalate instead of defuse? Suddenly, your lawful carry isn't a liability. It's part of the record. For the first time in a long time, your rights don't vanish the second someone in authority panics. And that, right there, is the game changer. And make no mistake, this wasn't some gentle correction. This was a sledgehammer swung straight at the system. For years, the moment of threat rule gave officers an easy escape hatch. Freeze the frame, circle the instant, say I was scared, and the case was done. Families left bleeding. Citizens left defenseless. Accountability buried under excuses. But the Supreme Court just burned that shortcut to ash. In a 9-0 ruling, every justice, left, right and centre, agreed. Fear alone isn't law. From now on, the whole chain of decisions is fair game. Every reckless step, every missed chance to cool things down, every choice that poured gas on the fire, all of it goes under the microscope. Think about how massive that is. No more hiding behind a split-second excuse. No more rubber-stamping bad decisions as unreasonable. The courtroom lens just zoomed out and the picture is no longer cropped to a 2-second frame. And here's where it gets chilling. Because if the courts finally see the whole story, how many cases you thought were dead and buried are about to claw their way back from the grave? And the shockwaves don't stop with you. They're ripping straight through police departments and courtrooms across the country. For years, officers were trained on a simple shield. If you can say you were scared in that second, you're safe. Well, that's gone. Overnight, the Supreme Court just shredded the old playbook. Now every move counts, from the first words out of an officer's mouth to the last second of an encounter. Training manuals have to be rewritten. Policies overhauled, because one reckless decision early in a stop could sink the whole defense later in court. And the fallout? It's already rumbling. Lawsuits once dead on arrival suddenly have teeth. Families told, sorry, case closed, are reopening files. Lawyers who once hit walls now have the Supreme Court at their back. Departments know it too. Policies will change. Tactics will be scrutinized. Officers who once coasted on fear alone now face accountability for the full timeline. This isn't a crack in the armor, it's a floodgate. And the system is bracing for the wave that's about to hit. So where does this earthquake hit hardest? Right at the collision point of the Second and Fourth Amendments. For years, courts acted like these rights lived on different planets. One about carrying, the other about searches, seizures, and force. But anyone who's ever been pulled over while carrying knows the truth. Those rights are chained together. Because what good is the right to bear arms if the moment you exercise it, an officer can misread your wallet grab, your holster adjustment, or even the words, "I'm carrying legally," as a threat? That illusion is gone now, and the court finally admitted the truth. Your right to bear arms means nothing if fear alone can erase it. From now on, the Fourth Amendment's shield against unreasonable force overlaps with the Second's guarantee of lawful carry. And that's a tectonic shift. It means calm compliance, lawful possession. Even saying the words, "I'm carrying legally," can't be brushed aside as threatening by default. Judges now have to weigh the full story, not just the panic at the end. This is more than legal theory, it's a shield forged from two amendments finally working together. And if you carry, or ever plan to, that's not abstract. That's survival written into law. Here's where it gets personal. If you own a firearm, you already know you're more likely than most to face structured encounters with law enforcement. A late-night traffic stop, a knock on the door over a complaint, a range or hunting check, or worse, a red flag order served when you least expect it. These moments are pressure cookers. Seconds stretch, nerves spike, and one wrong assumption can tilt everything. Under the old rule, none of that mattered. Courts froze the tape on the final heartbeat, stamped it, justified, and buried the rest of the story. Not anymore. Now judges are required to weigh how you carried yourself, your calm, your words, your compliance. They have to consider whether the officer escalated instead of diffused. That shift is massive. For the first time, your lawful behavior doesn't vanish in the smoke of fear, it stays on the record. But don't mistake this as a free pass. The stakes just got higher for everyone. Your choices, your clarity, your calm, they matter more than ever, because now the courts will actually see them. And if the state tries to twist your lawful carry into a threat, they'll have to answer for the full story. This isn't just another headline that fades in a week. What happened here is a reset. Legal scholars are already calling Barnes versus Felix the Miranda of use of force law. Think about that. One case forced every cop in America to start reading you your rights before questioning. It reshaped arrests, interrogations, the entire justice system. Now imagine that same level of change, but aimed squarely at how force is judged when lives are on the line. From this moment forward, excessive force isn't weighed on a 2-second clip. It's the entire chain of events. Training has to adapt, courtrooms have to adapt, and every encounter between a citizen and a state just got a new filter. Context. And here's what makes it undeniable. This wasn't 5-4. It wasn't partisan. It wasn't theater. It was 9-0. Every justice agreed the old standard was broken. When the whole court throws out years of excuses in one voice, the ground doesn't just shift, it cracks open. So don't be fooled by the silence in the headlines. This wasn't minor. It wasn't procedural. It was a constitutional course correction. And whether you carry or not, your rights just got rewritten. But here's the warning. Don't get comfortable. Because the same system that leaned on fear for years will try to build a new excuse tomorrow. They'll test the edges. They'll push for loopholes. They'll claw at the ground they just lost. And if you stay quiet, they'll get away with it. So if you value your rights, talk about this. Share it. Drop a comment. Does this ruling make you feel safer, or do you still worry about how fast things can go sideways? Because this isn't a footnote, it's the new battlefield. So stay sharp, stay loud, and above all, stay safe.